This weekend, the World Endurance Championship is returning to Brazil as the 5th round of the 2024 season gets underway. Not only is the WEC returning to this country for the first time in over 10 years, but this also marks the return for the series to the entire continent of South America. So in this video, I will explain the major details that you need to know as the WEC heads back to Brazil. In the summer of 2023, the calendar for the 2024 season was revealed, and one of the biggest talking points was the WEC's return to Brazil, and more specifically, the Interlagos Circuit. Interlagos is arguably Brazil's most famous racing course in the country, mainly because the circuit plays host to the iconic Formula 1 Brazilian Grand Prix. The circuit, which is located in the famous city of São Paulo, will host the 5th round of the season, and the race will last a total of 6 hours in length. It's also worth mentioning that the event has the watch brand Rolex as the title sponsor. It is absolutely fantastic to have the WEC return to Brazil, not just because of the circuit, atmosphere, history, and so on, but also considering the fact that the WEC is returning to South America. Besides the WEC's short-lived journey in Brazil, which I'll talk about in just a moment, the South American continent has hosted endurance races for decades beforehand. For example, the well-known World Sports Car Championship, which existed until 1992, came to Argentina for the 1,000 kilometers of Buenos Aires, which was on the calendar until 1972. Then there is also the race known as the Bogota 6 Hours, held annually in December from 1986 onward in the country of Colombia. Going back to the subject of the WEC race, and as for the circuit itself, Interlagos is a phenomenal track to host endurance racing, and it should provide some very close and exciting action when the series comes here in 2024 and beyond. Overtakes should be common, with 2 straights and a couple of good overtaking corners around the track. The weather could also be a major factor in this race to keep an eye on. The racing action that will last 6 hours could in theory be affected by potential rain, and this could change up the order based off of past motorsport events at this track. This upcoming race in particular will especially be great because of the grid size, and considering how competitive both classes of Hypercar and LMGT3 have been this year, we are for sure in for an intense 6 hours of São Paulo race. Now it's very important to know that unlike other tracks in this year's WEC calendar that are new to the series, such as Losail in Qatar for example, Interlagos is a track that the WEC has visited multiple times before. The WEC first came to Brazil for the very first season of this championship's existence in 2012, and came back for 2 more years after that. The 2012 race saw a battle for overall honors between Audi and Toyota, and ultimately it was Toyota that won with the all-new TS030 hybrid prototype, and the first race in Brazil went to the Japanese manufacturer. In the following event of 2013, the race was easily won by the German auto manufacturer Audi, because within the first 30 minutes, the only Toyota was taken out of the race. Audi would take a 1-2 in Brazil, with Rebellion Racing completing the podium after the misfortunes for the number 8 Toyota. The 2014 race had a great battle overall between Audi, Toyota, and newcomers Porsche. However, one of the big stories coming out of this race was the massive crash for the number 20 Porsche and a GTE Am Ferrari, where thankfully both drivers got out okay. Now that Toyota and Audi had both won in Brazil, it was Porsche's turn. Despite the huge crash for the sister car, the race would finish under safety car with the number 14 Porsche taking the win. That 2014 race had a lot of firsts and lasts. This was because this marked the first win for the Porsche 919 in endurance racing competition, but also the last WEC race for the legendary driver Tom Kristensen, as the Danish racer would retire. The 2014 race also was the last WEC event to date at the Interlagos Circuit. Brazil was set for a WEC comeback in 2020, However, the event was cancelled and later replaced by a race in Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas. But now, 10 years after the last race in 2014, Brazil is back on the WEC calendar. Considering the WEC hasn't come here in 10 years, most teams, manufacturers, and drivers will be going into unfamiliar territory. But some did race here during those 3 years, and the experience they gained will for sure come in handy at Interlagos. In hypercar, Porsche and Toyota are the only manufacturers to have raced in the WEC's top prototype racing category. But in the past, that was during the days of LMP1, so it will be a totally different experience for both manufacturers. Drivers like Sebastian Buemi, Neil Jani, Andre Latera, Mike Conway, Richard Leitz, and so on have raced at Interlagos before in the WEC, so their experience will definitely matter. Honestly though, it is incredible to see the WEC return to such an iconic track such as Interlagos, and I'm sure that we'll get a great race in 2024. Also, this year's event will not be the last in Brazil. Interlagos will be returning to the WEC in 2025 and hopefully beyond. Are you excited for the WEC's return to Brazil this year? And what are you most looking forward to as the 6 Hours of São Paulo gets underway this coming weekend? Well, let me know all your thoughts on this matter down in the comments. Thanks for watching. For more content on endurance racing such as the WEC and IMSA, consider subscribing if you haven't already. On screen, you'll find some suggested videos to watch next. For now though, that's it for me. You'll hear from me next in the following video.